Come on, puppy, come on. She's really energetic. We've been here for 4 years, and as soon as I moved in, I thought I'm gonna re-wallpaper this hallway immediately. Anyways, 4 years later, I'm still living with this wallpaper. I stopped seeing it altogether. I love that this hallway has such great bones. I was very charmed when we went to buy this house. I love the banister roll here. I've always wanted to take down this particular handrail, haven't yet. The lighting, I'm not sure if I'm gonna keep it or if I'm gonna change it to something else. This one came from our old house and I've always thought she was charming. There's a weird little lady up there at the top of the chandelier, but she might find a new home somewhere else. I'm not sure the vintage on the floor. Maybe it was original, I'm not sure. But it definitely has a narrative. There is some staining, there is some crackage. I love these shutter doors. I find them very charming. This one also has some history that needs a fix. There's kind of 2 drop zones that we use. This one is my husband's. I actually tidied it up a little bit. This one is mine. It's actually also usually not quite this neat. Keys, tape measure, etc. And usually there's a large pile of knapsacks and coats and junk in the corner, which I removed for you. I don't know, I love this hall. I've always felt it had a really good feel to it, but I've decided to take the plunge and redo it. I had always wanted to commit to wallpaper, and I finally did. It's from Sandberg, it's called Raphael, and it is a beautiful tree print. But it had this like dreamy quality that felt soft enough. And I thought, okay, just go for it. Whenever you change a space quite drastically, it takes a while to get used to it, especially when it's halfway done. I hate that process of like when the wallpaper's up, but the floor is still crap. So then I was like, okay, let's get to the floor. The floor is actually how this project started because Raphael was like, I've always wanted to do peel and stick. And I came across this great peel and stick from Mirth Studio. It's called Tumbling Blocks, and it's this 3D block print. They're very thin. They're as thin as a bumper sticker. Pretty simple to install. You just start in the most square spot you can find. Usually that's a corner. Not in my house, however, where no walls are square. You go north-south, up and down, one below the other. I put it right over existing tile that had grout lines, and because of the print, I think it hid the grout lines pretty well. It's totally not permanent, so it's great for like if you are in a rental or a cottage, and it's quite cost effective. So if it's something where you want to make a big change quite quickly, I think it's a great solution. I wanted to add another tone to the space aside from the white trim and the wallpaper. So I asked Kai Etche, and she helped me pick out this beautiful color by Farrow and Ball called Dovetail. It's like a very pinky, purpley gray, and it just adds the right amount of depth. I just painted out the shutter door and the back of the main door and my husband's shelf over the red, and I'm super pleased with it. My dad is retired and he attends a lot of auctions, and he stumbled across this great little table. I thought it might give more air to the space, just have a better scale overall than the darker vintage piece there originally. It's a little bit lower. I love a good geranium, and this one I've had for 3 years, and now I feel like it is reaching its peak. I love how it's kind of, as my mom would say, leggy. I am also a fan of vintage ashtrays from like, I don't know, this looks maybe 70s or 80s. I've reused it as a change thing. My husband was like, oh, cool dish. And then he was like, ashtray, gross. And this rock I got on a shoot in New Brunswick. This little light is French from the 1940s, and it's from ZigZag Vintage, one of my favorite sources for vintage lighting. The chandelier I kept because the color looks so pretty with the wallpaper. I don't know, it just felt okay once everything was up. It felt like it still suited and gave enough light. Okay, so after the wallpaper was up and I lived with it for a week, I knew that I needed something else that had more personality and character. I loved to see the design, but I also wanted places for my eye to rest. I had a bunch of art that didn't have a home necessarily in the rest of our house, and I just created a gallery wall going up the stairs. I left areas where the pattern can really breathe and you get a sense of it, but I feel like it offers just the right amount of personality behind it without overwhelming the space. Both my husband and son are big fans. They love the wallpaper, they love the art. I love coming home to it. I love seeing the door, and I love that it makes sense and that there is a mirror here now. It feels good. It's so nice to think that when people come, they won't be asking us if we just moved in.